A lot of people ask me, how do you get into systems programming, especially if you don't have systems programming experience? Or more specifically, how do you land a Rust role without having Rust experience? Well, to answer that question, in this video, I'm going to have a conversation with Maddie, an engineer that we've worked with. Before working with us, Maddie had very little Rust experience and no systems programming experience. But after working with us, he was able to get a senior Rust role at Ford, get a 20% salary increase, and was able to do all of that within 4 months of us working together. So with that said, here's my conversation with Maddie. So Maddie, you landed a senior systems programming role in 2026 without prior systems programming experience. How on earth were you able to do that?
Good question. So the way I did it was initially I started with the Rust book, and also like there's a lot of difficulty. Learning Rust is not easy. That I'm honest. So there was a lot of time where I felt like I want to give up, but you keep being persistent, you learn from others, and also you just keep like building. And also doing like a production grade project. So that helped me quite a lot.
All right, Maddie, let's give a quick intro. Who are you? What job did you land? Role, company type, stack, remote, on-site, country, etc.
Yeah, so my name is Matthias, and I'm originally from Ethiopia, but I've been living in the US and especially in the Bay Area for the past 15 years. I have worked starting from like University of Iowa, which is in Iowa City, to financial institution in Washington, D.C. area. And then finally for a real estate company, and then also another like financial institution like Wells Fargo in the Bay Area. Beside that, I have been also a crypto trader, and I have worked in the Solana ecosystem, which is one of my passion, building decentralized applications. After I went through Let's Get Rusty's Rust education program, I was able to land a job at Ford. So currently I'm a senior software engineer at Ford. And we are building one of their HMI system, and that is in Palo Alto, California.
So I'm curious, from the moment you decided, I want to go into systems programming, I want to do Rust, to the moment that you landed a role and got your offer, how long did that take roughly?
I had the Rust book, which I started reading, and it was a very good book, especially like the basics and even advanced. Like a lot of topics are covered. But I wanted to do like real world projects and also, work with other students as well. With other people. From that point, I think it took me around like 2 months to read the book. And then it took me 3 months to went through Rust Live Accelerator. And it took me maybe like another month to find a job. So pretty much like from starting like taking like a very serious course up to landing a job, it took about like 4 months in total.
Wow, that's pretty good. That's very fast. That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
So before you landed your role at Ford, what was your day-to-day like as a software engineer?
When I wasn't working for corporate companies, it ranges from working with business people like product managers and also other senior engineering managers. And then, the day continues. So you start also like spending maybe at least half of the day building like coding. And also when I was a lead engineer at Wells Fargo, I was also able to manage a couple more people.
Had you written any embedded software before deciding to go deeper into Rust, before landing your role at Ford?
So the closest I had was, this was probably like even 10 years ago, actually 11 years ago. So we had to build an application where we can control this hardware using like a smartphone. So that was like my first interaction with, I wouldn't say like, very much like writing like embedded level code, but at least interacting with hardware devices. So that was my first experience.
At what point did you decide you wanted to go into low-level systems, embedded software, and how did you end up making that decision?
It is the fact that like I want to write like trading bots. It is one of the reasons that makes me okay. I need to write like lower level code that is like pretty fast and high performance to be more competitive, especially in the blockchain space. It's very highly competitive. It's very similar to like what you would see like in Wall Street, right? Because like anybody from anywhere in the world they like can interact with blockchain systems.
Before getting your role at Ford and doing more of this low-level software in a space that's different than finance, right? Did you think it was realistic to get a role at a company, let's say like Ford, in the span of 4 months?
No, I actually didn't. Number one, I wasn't sure I would even get like anything outside of the crypto space because that was my experience. But once you know the basics and advances of REST, a lot of those things can be transferred over to the embedded space. So when they actually interviewed me, they already know that like I don't have any experience, but the fact that they liked my advanced experience in the REST space, they were able to hire me.
Before we started working together, can you kind of walk through what was the reality of your job search process, results? Like, were you getting interviews? Were you struggling to get interviews? What types of roles were you applying for?
So I was applying for mostly in the blockchain space and trading environment where, I want to become like a quant trader. So I want to write like, the code myself, but I don't know REST. And, when people ask me like, and I show them the project I did and they know that like, I don't know REST well, so they shy away a lot. So for those kind of opportunities, the one I liked, it was very hard to get those kind of jobs. Throughout that, I started getting like jobs that are embedded. Some of them are defense, and I was like, okay. So there were like few things like I don't know, but I used to say I would say like at least like 50% of the job description I can do. So that is when like I actually made a shift was, okay, there are other opportunities I can apply. Let me give it a try, and it worked out pretty well.
When you applied and you interviewed at Ford, you were very straightforward and upfront about not having embedded experience prior, but you're enthusiastic. I'm sure, you had Rust and things like that on your resume. You did, performance sensitive coding before. What do you think they liked in your resume or in you that despite your lack of embedded experience, they took a chance?
Sure. Number one is I was able to answer most of the fundamental questions, not just like theoretically, but also in a practical form. So I had like, I think 3 technical interviews. One was just like about the fundamentals of REST, advanced part of REST. And then the second part was actually writing like lead code style algorithm problem. That was also in REST. You have to actually use REST. And then also like for system design as well, not only theoretically, but also practically, it was easier to answer for me.
What do you think were the biggest gaps, skill gaps, portfolio gaps that were preventing you from getting those Solana roles you mentioned, or even the embedded roles several months ago before we worked together or before you even started down your Rust journey?
So one of the main obstacles was not having high quality production level REST project or code. Literally, it forces you to think like that from deployment CI/CD. I think that's, if I remember correctly, that's how we started, right? You write test cases. So those they sound like very little things, but when you put them together, it makes you like professional REST developer.
So if you were to give like a timeline summary of before we started working together, what you were doing, and then how you got into learning Rust, how you got to joining the program, and then how you ended up getting your role at Ford. Walk me through like what that timeline looks like and what the steps were throughout that journey.
So before joining the live accelerator, I took the book. I didn't feel like it was enough. So once I joined the REST Live Accelerator, I was definitely like doing all the exercises on a weekly basis. When it was also very hard, asking questions to you, and also the code review program you had in the Discord group. So that way, like I want to make sure I understand everything I'm learning. At the same time, I'm also attending the career camp program, which is like very helpful because the career camp, I say like the same importance as the engineering part. So from start, my resume was like 7 pages. When I initially like when I showed up for Wallace, like this is like a lot. So and we were able to reduce that to 2 pages, and now like I'm able to sell myself much more easily. Actually, we learned also like how to optimize our LinkedIn profile. Well, I think 3 days later is I started getting like at least like 2 job opportunities every day. And I think by the time we finished the capstone, maybe like a week or 2 weeks later is when I got the job. So that's when I say like 4 months.
So in terms of joining the Rust Lab Accelerator, what were your main concerns or doubts before actually deciding to pull the trigger and join the program?
Sure, my doubt was, my thing was like, I can learn this by myself. Why would I need to get to an accelerator and also pay money? Because my idea was like, I will read the book, I will write code, and then I'll get a job. And after I did that for 2 months, I was like, oh, okay, this is not, making sense. I would say that like, I could not figure out what exactly the industry standard is.
So you had some doubts. You spent 2 months reading the book. You kind of said, hey, this is not working as well as I thought it would be. What finally then made you pull the trigger and actually join?
So first is obviously the content you have on YouTube, the free content. I can tell like, okay, you have like much more detail, and then more hands-on help would get like one-on-one call with you, even like with other engineers where we can get like code help. And last but not least, yes, it's on your page where I can see like testimonials from other people which work actually in the Solana industry, in the Web3 industry. They talked about like why they learned Rust. I forgot their name, but they work in like pretty good like firms in the crypto industry. So when I see those testimonials, I think it helped me kind of make the trigger. At the end of the day, you have to take risk as well, right? So I knew about that where, hey, I have to at least like give it a try. So yeah, that's.
So when you joined the Rust Lab Accelerator, what were 1 to 2 things that you did differently that you were maybe not doing before, or you started doing that made the biggest impact?
I would say doing like a full life cycle of building a production level product using Rust for the first time. I think that's something like I really appreciated when I joined, where, okay, I can do like the whole full life cycle. And then the second part was also when I joined the group, there are also other students. Some of them are like pretty good at Rust already. They just want to be more advanced. There was like pretty good students, right? So when we do the demos and you're like, wow, like, okay, these guys are doing this. So it shows out like what's possible. Some do like embedded, some are doing blockchain. So it was like very different group of people. So learning from others and also networking with others was also like, pretty helpful. Yeah.
So I'm curious about like the actual numbers, the impact. So before you got your role to after you got your role, what are the numbers like? Did you get an increase in comp? Did you get a promotion in terms of seniority? Did you get a better situation in terms of like before maybe you were on site and now you're remote? What were the concrete benefits of the new role?
So I think the first benefit was like to get a very good salary. I would say like 20% increase from my previous salary. Yeah.
How do you feel now in your position as an engineer versus 6 months ago?
Oh, wow. It's a big difference. Like feel very confident now. I feel like as long as I have the interest and passion, I can take like any Rust related projects.
So if somebody was watching this and they were in your position 6 months ago, they wanted to get into systems programming, they wanted to get into Rust, what would you say they should do over the next 90 days if they want to take this seriously? Basically, like what advice would you give to your former self now that you're in this position?
So I would say that give it like at least enough time every week and without breaking the momentum. Try to go like through from advanced level Rust and not only like do theoretical study but also like practically like just write code from the day you started studying. That way you build like the memory muscle, and initially like I would say maybe put the AI on the side until you build the memory muscle, but once you do that and once you understand like all the concepts you're building, I think you can now like leverage AI to write even like way better code. Keep building your resume from day one, because right now I know like the job market might not seem that great, but for the Rust ecosystem, if I open and show you my LinkedIn, you probably see like there is a job still. And also I have recruiter friends who actually told me that they have a hard time finding good Rust engineers. So as long as you're passionate and you have the capacity to learn and build, yeah, like don't even wait, another year or so. So yeah, do your best within like the 3-4 months period.
If you're also interested in getting help from Let's Get Rusty to land a systems programming role like Maddie, check out our Rust Live Accelerator. It's our tailored mentorship program where we help developers go beyond YouTube videos, build production-grade Rust systems, and land their first Rust job. You can join the waitlist for our next cohort by heading over to letsgetrusty.com/join or by clicking the link in the pinned comment below. When you join the waitlist, we'll also send you our Rust developer roadmap as a small gift. So tap the link, join the waitlist, and I'll talk to you very soon.